Welcome back to the channel. I promised you a few weeks ago an update on the weight loss journey, and today is the day. I mentioned in a previous video, and if I can put a card up here to that, I will. If not, there'll be a link in the description below. Sometimes YouTube, I can't figure it out. But I did a video not too long ago about the fact that I was going to try a BBB and E fast for 30 days. And that's basically beef, bacon, butter, and eggs, which is a sort of a minimalist, there's that word again, a minimalist version of carnivore. Now, carnivore, really minimal, is beef. I started off, first couple of weeks, I did really well. I didn't hit my 10,000 steps a day goal. I didn't even hit 5,000 steps every day. It just was not happening for me. But I did lose a few pounds. I lost about 4 pounds in a couple of weeks, and it was down as low as 211, and I felt pretty good about that. But then I took a trip up to Knoxville to visit with some friends of mine, and as we used to do every Friday before a home game, we went to a Mexican restaurant called La Piñata, and it's very, very difficult to eat carnivore there. And typically when I'm out with friends and they choose the restaurant, I eat with them. I don't make people feel uncomfortable that I'm trying not to eat that way. The problem was, and it's the same problem I've had all of my life, was that not only did I eat the Mexican food, which is extremely high in both carbs and fat, I ate all of the Mexican food. Chips and salsa, just nonstop, this huge plate. I just about cleaned an entire plate. I probably ate 5,000 calories in that meal. And that really threw me for a loop. And then after I got back home, it was just hard for me to get back into the groove. So as a result, right now, I'm making this video on Sunday, September 10th. I'm right where I started. I'm at 215. I completely failed at what I set out to do. Now, I think it's important that we understand, for those of us who struggle with weight like I do, I think it's important for us to try to figure out why we struggle with weight. I do have a food addiction, and it started at a very early age. Just to sort of bring you up to speed about my own background, I went to school, kindergarten through 6th grade, at the same elementary school in Richmond, Indiana. It was right across the street from the house. I had a lot of friends, rode my bike every day. I say I had a lot of friends. I had several friends in the neighborhood. We would get together and play almost every day. We'd go climb trees together. We would climb up the TV antenna to the roof of the house and jump off the roof of the house and throw our G.I. Joes up to parachute into the backyard, and, you know, all the stuff that you do as kids. And then in the middle of the 7th grade, between fall and spring, I moved to Marion, Indiana. My dad changed jobs. And we moved into what they would typically do, what my mom and dad would typically do, is buy a slightly distressed house in a neighborhood a little above the last one they lived in. And that's what we did when we lived in Richmond. We lived in the smallest house on the block. I love that house. And when we moved to Marion, we bought a house at the end of a cul-de-sac, huge yard, had to buy a riding lawnmower for the yard. That was the first time we had that. And the house was wonderful, but it was, you know, marked down because it was hard to sell. And the kids in that neighborhood didn't necessarily attach themselves to me in any meaningful way. I made 0 friends when I lived there. We lived there for 2 years. And as a result, in the 7th grade, I point back to this one episode that sort of defines how the trajectory of my life went from that point. So we moved there in the middle of winter. We had about a foot of snow on the ground, or at least it seemed like a foot of snow on the ground. And our house was about a quarter of a mile down this cul-de-sac from the bus stop. And of course, in Indiana in winter, it's dark when you get on the bus. It's dark. And so I bundled up in my winter overcoat. I don't think I had backpack back then. I don't think we knew what those were, but I'm sure I was carrying my lunchbox or my books or whatever. And I trekked down the road that quarter of a mile in the dark to wait for the bus by myself. There I stood in the dark, and I could see to my left a street light at the next street down, which is probably another quarter of a mile away, not really that far. And I could sort of hear voices of kids down there, a group of kids laughing and talking every morning. And the bus would pull up and pick them up, and I would sort of get up closer to the road and wait my turn. And the bus started coming down the road, did not stop, and went right on by me. And I stood there in the dark thinking, okay, they didn't see me. They weren't told there was a new pickup. I don't know what to do now. So I walked back home, and my mom had to take me to school. And I think that only happened a couple of days. It might have happened 3 days, but I think only a couple of days. So the next day when I went down to the bus stop, I was not going to give up. I went down to the bus stop, heard the kids, saw the bus, got myself ready, and this time the bus stopped. And as the door opened and I started to climb up the steps, the bus driver held out her hand to me and said, "Stop right there." She said, "I understand that you think you've been missing the bus for the last 2 days." Because evidently my mom had called, they'd called the bus, whatever. She said, "This is not your bus. Your bus comes about 10 minutes from now." Well, obviously I felt like an idiot. I had this busload of kids kind of looking at me, maybe snickering, maybe laughing. I don't know. I got back off the bus. I stood there, and sure enough, 10 minutes later, a bus came by and picked me up, took me to school. I point to that a lot when I talk about my life journey, because from that point on, most of my life has been spent standing on the side of the road in the dark, watching the bus go by. I did not engage with people. I didn't make friends. I went to 2 different schools in 2 years in Marion. We moved to Bennettsville, South Carolina. I went to another school where it was a small private school, and all those kids had been together since kindergarten. They didn't welcome new kids very easily. And then I moved to Wynne, Arkansas, and that's a long story, but I spent a couple of years there. Didn't make very many friends there either. Had a few, but not many. Didn't make a lot of friends in college, and I didn't make a lot of friends as an adult. Making friends is not an easy thing for me. And so when people ask me, why are you an introvert? Are introverts born? Are introverts made? I don't know. I'm a bit shy at times, but I am mostly an introvert, which means that I don't have to be shy all the time. I just have to back off and re-energize myself by myself, away from people. And even when my kids come over with all the grandkids, they will find sometimes at night I will go to bed before they do, because I've had my time with people for the day, and I am in emotional overload at that point, and I just need to go be quiet for a little while. But in addition to that, because I stayed at home, I did not ride my bike anywhere, I didn't go anywhere to speak of, and I watched TV a lot, and I ate. And TV became connected to food for me. And so anytime I sat down to watch TV, I was eating a snack. Maybe you can relate to that. But not only that, I learned at an early age, even before that, when I was in elementary school, that when you're given a plate of food, you should eat the plate of food. You should eat all of the plate of food. It's rude not to eat the food. I don't know that I was taught that. I don't think my parents taught me that. That was something I just sort of internalized because I love food, probably. And so as time went on and I became more sedentary and my eating became more voracious, I started to put on weight. And I have struggled with weight ever since the 7th grade. Now, I have been on diets. I've been on a lot of diets, and they all work. The biggest thing I can tell you about any time you want to lose weight from my own experience is cut out the carbs, eat leaner, and try to watch how many calories you're putting in, because if you put in more calories than your body is putting out, your body says, oh, I might want to hang on to this for a while in case I starve to death one day. I'll just store this as fat. And my body had been thinking it was going to starve to death for years. And so even now, one of the reasons that I went to carnivore as opposed to keto, which is all just a way to decrease the number of carbs as much as possible, to put your body in ketosis so that the ketones start kicking in, open up your fat cells, consume the fat as energy instead of carbs, and lose weight. That's really the long and short and simple of it. And I am still struggling with that, trying to maintain that. My hope was that I could be from 215 down to about 208 in a month before I took my trip to Scotland, because I knew I wasn't going to worry about what I ate when I'm in Scotland. I never do when I'm on a trip. And I am not one of those people that talks about carnivore as if it's a religion. It's a tool for me. It's just a tool. And I don't have a problem eating low-carb vegetables or fruits and things like that when I am in a place where that is the only option available to me. But the weight loss journey is tough. If you are experiencing that same kind of thing, take heart, because you are not alone in the world. You are not the only one battling this problem. Some people are better at it than others. I have a number of factors that work against me. Number one is I'm too sedentary, and right now I am enjoying being retired too much to change that. I think in time it will be easier for me to be more active. And I do have a Medicare Part D insurance through Blue Cross Blue Shield that gives me a membership at a local fitness of my choice that's in their network called Silver and Fit. One of the things that I have to do when if I want to walk on the treadmill to get exercise, I have to do that first thing in the morning. And for me, that's 5 a.m. And in the wintertime in Tennessee, it's too dark to walk my neighborhood. I thought about getting a headlamp, and maybe I'll do that and walk in the neighborhood. But just 2 miles down the road is a YMCA that opens up at 5, maybe earlier than 5. And once I get enrolled in that, I think I'll be able to go there on at least a semi-regular basis. Because once I get started, I can continue. It's the getting started that hurts. The other thing that's working against me is because I'm sedentary, I'm watching a lot of television. And when I'm watching television, I still battle this thing of I need to get up and find something to eat. And even though I'm eating according to the restrictions of the carnivore diet, I'm still eating too much. And I know that. So I have that to work with. And then I have probably the biggest problem at all, and that is that I have zero willpower. Zero. Being on the carnivore diet helps that, because I know that if I do want a snack, I have options that are okay. I don't crave ice cream. I don't crave cake or pies or cookies. Although if I ever sit down to have a slice of pie, I will have 3 slices of pie because I have no willpower. And the other thing is, and I think this is a common problem to everyone, is that our brain doesn't know how to internalize not. I read this somewhere a long time ago. I don't have a study to show it to you, but when we say, I will not go to the refrigerator and get food, our brain eliminates the word not. And the more we say it, the more our brain says, I will go to the refrigerator and get food. And that is a problem for me. And I have to find something else to do besides watch YouTube videos and watch television. And again, I think that will come as I become more accustomed to being retired and develop some new habits. I think that will happen. In the meantime, I haven't lost any weight. I was not able to successfully complete the challenge I put before myself. And I'm filled with all kinds of negative thoughts about that. And I'm trying to overcome that. And one of the ways that I'm doing that is by trying to be transparent about it on this channel. If you struggle with weight and you're facing the same kind of things I'm facing, I'd love to know in the comments. I'd love to know how we can help one another. If you have successfully fought a weight battle and you are now exactly where you want to be and you are living your best life ever, leave me a comment in this section and tell me how you did that so that I can get some inspiration to move forward. And in the meantime, we'll just keep battling on day after day, trying to learn not to stand by the side of the road in the dark, watching the bus go by. We'll see you next time.